Being a climate journalist is never all laughs, but this,
Okay, let's do it.
I'm doing this for you.
I think that's beyond next level.
I want to show you how to heat entire neighborhoods with water as cold as this.
It's like thousands of needles in my legs.
The answer with a heat pump, a very big one.
I don't do anything.
But even the small ones are indispensable when it comes to decarbonizing housing. These gadgets can convert seemingly infinite amounts of energy from the environment to warm our homes, even in winter. But how is that done, and why aren't they everywhere yet? Nothing requires more energy worldwide than keeping houses warm and providing heat to industry. Heating accounts for half of the global energy consumption, and 72% of our heating comes from burning fossil fuels. Long story short, to limit global warming, we need to bring heating emissions down. But before we get to that, we need some cold facts. I mean, really cold.
Okay, I'm not ready at all. Oh God.
It's -1 degree Celsius outside and the water is only slightly warmer.
Thank you, Planet A. Why am I doing this again? It's unbelievable, but here in the city of Mannheim in southwest Germany, this ice-cold water is used to heat thousands of homes. We're going to find out how this is possible.
Mannheim is a mid-sized city of about 300,000 inhabitants. It sits directly on Germany's biggest river, the Rhine. And you guessed right, the river plays a key role in this story. The magic is happening in this. The local energy provider is producing electricity and heating through a mix of fossil fuels and cold water. Until today, the region relied heavily on the most climate-harming source for heating, coal. This is Felix Hack. He's energy manager at energy company MVV. The magic machine we're about to show you is his baby. This single power plant is responsible for about 6.8 million tons of CO2 every year. That's almost 1% of Germany's annual emissions. But this is changing for the better right now.
Durch den Rhein fließen Millionen Liter Wasser. Das ist auch bezogen auf die Wärmemenge ein Mehrfaches des Wärmebedarfs von der Stadt Mannheim. Und es geht auch bei so kalten Temperaturen. Also wir haben gerade irgendwie 6, 7 Grad Celsius. Auch da steckt physikalisch noch genug Wärme drin. Genau. Dann sind wir jetzt im Vorraum und da jetzt dann bitte die Ohrstöpsel nehmen, weil da drin ist dann wirklich laut.
I don't do anything.
So this deafening giant is in fact a heat pump for rivers. By pushing through 800 liters of river water per second, it can provide heat for 3,500 households all year around.
Hier kommt das Rheinwasser an und geht auf den großen Wärmetauscher, den Verdampfer, wo es dann die Wärme ans Kältemittel übergibt.
Okay, wait a second. Let's take a step back. This is what happens in all those pipes. The water seems cold to us, but it's easily warm enough to turn a liquid refrigerant into gas, as this can evaporate at extremely low temperatures. The gas expands. An electric pump then compresses this gas. This generates heat. It's a bit like with a bicycle pump. The longer you pump, so the higher the pressure, the hotter it gets. Try it out. The heated gas is used to warm up water or air, for example. The refrigerant gives up its heat and becomes liquid again, and the process can restart. This mechanism is so efficient, you can generate 3 times as much heat with the same energy as with a gas boiler. It doesn't just work with river water, you get the same effect with heat from air and the ground. Ideally, the electricity for the pump comes from renewable energies, but even if it comes from fossil fuels, it's still more sustainable.
The principle of a heat pump isn't new at all. It's based on a concept which has existed for a very long time and on a technology which most of us have at home.
A refrigerator. Back in the 19th century, the demand for cooling was much higher than for heating. Ice was carried from far away as there was no possibility to keep things cold. In 1859, the Frenchman Ferdinand Carré designed the first commercially successful ammonia absorption cooling system. It works the same way as a heat pump, but the other way around, carrying heat from inside to outside. from there, another familiar machine evolved, the air conditioner. Invented to solve hot air and humidity problems in the printing industry. Only later, the heat pump had its big moment.
The pride and joy of the man of the house is the weather control center. A center that puts you in charge of the electric heating and air conditioning and the electronic air filtering of the entire house.
With Western economies booming after World War II, bringing widespread electrification and new lifestyle expectations, heat pumps fitted right in. But as most people were happy to burn cheap oil and gas for decades, they didn't really catch on until now.
So now we're going to see the heat storage from where the heat is being distributed over the entire city.
Ja, genau, das ist die Thermoskanne. 43.000 Kubikmeter Wasser.
Okay, wow.
Also,
Wie viel ist das? In Litern?
43 Millionen Liter.
Okay.
Also sehr viel, braucht eine Weile, um das zu befüllen.
At the moment, by far the largest proportion of this is still heated with coal. Only 3% of the heat comes from the river. But that will soon change, as the coal-fired power station will probably be shut down by 2033.
Wir wollen aber noch mal deutlich größer. Wir wollen, dass 50.000 Haushalte mit Wärme aus Flusswasserwärmepumpen versorgt werden und dadurch hier nochmal Faktor 10 in den nächsten Jahren realisieren.
As energy efficient and sustainable a river heat pump is, taking heat from the river means that the water is being discharged 3 degrees colder after the process, with potentially negative impacts on a larger scale.
Luckily, at the moment, most of our waters are overheated due to climate change, so it's beneficial to a point. And beyond that, you will have an adverse ecological effect that you might want to avoid.
This is Fabian Arendt, scientist at Germany's Fraunhofer IEG and expert for large-scale heat pumps. However, due to the small quantities of water being discharged, the temperature in the river only changes by less than 1/10,000th of a degree, according to MVV.
But now imagine all along the River Rhine, all the major cities there, wanting to cover their entire heat demand, including industrial plants such as the BASF or Covestro plants along the River Rhine that all use water, that might use water for heat pumps for the processes, and suddenly you get an issue.
Another issue are the refrigerants. They can be terrible greenhouse gases. Watch our video on F-gases if you want to know more. There are alternatives on the market which have less global warming potential, but some have other issues such as being easy to ignite, and manufacturers tend to produce business as usual. In Mannheim, the generated heat is distributed via district heating over and underground. In Germany, around 15% of all buildings are now heated in this way, and most of it could be met by large heat pumps, cutting out coal and gas. They are still a niche, but installations have started to pick up. A role model is the Swedish capital Stockholm, where about 90,000 apartments are heated from wastewater. And the Norwegian city of Drammen provides most of the heat for its 65,000 residents with heat from its cold seawater. And communities don't even need district heating. Heat pumps can be directly attached to a building or industrial site where temperatures up to 200 degrees Celsius are needed.
Heat pumps can extract energy from almost anything. Air, wastewater, steam, and even from the ground. And they don't need to be huge. They can be pretty small too, and be used in almost any residential building, like this one.
By 2030, heat pumps could save as many emissions as all cars in Europe produce per year, with smaller units taking a central stage. Especially as heat pumps can also turn from heating into cooling mode and are more energy efficient than classic air conditioners. But there is a catch. Of course, it's the money.
Particularly when we're installing our first heat pump, switching from a different heating system is always going to be more expensive as we are right now.
This is Louise Sunderland. She's a policy expert at non-profit Regulatory Assistance Project. She has a heat pump herself and loves it. Right now in 2024, heat pumps can cost 2 to 4 times more than natural gas boilers. It's a big outlay, especially for low-income families. On the other hand, long-term they could save you money as heat pumps need less energy. In Europe, households currently save on average $900 per year, and in the US $300. But the advantage over fossil fuel heating depends highly on, energy prices.
Before the recent energy price crisis, when prices became unpredictable and volatile, On average across Europe, electricity was around 3.3 times more expensive than gas. So you can see if you were having an efficient heat pump, getting a 300%, 400% efficiency, yeah, you might be saving some money there. In the UK, where I live, before the price crisis, electricity was 5 times more expensive than gas. So you can see there that you would really struggle to be saving some money.
So if heat pumps are more sustainable and economically viable, depends highly on your government's energy policies, whether they favor cheap green electricity over fossil fuels. In Mannheim, the prospect of high CO2 taxes, local climate targets and state subsidies for the construction of the plant were decisive in the switch to river heating. Their target is to provide almost 100% clean heat by 2030.
The heat pumps won't cover all of that, but will be one important component to eventually shut down the dirty coal power plant behind me in the near future.
No matter if small or large scale, heat pumps are more sustainable and can make regions more independent from fossil fuels. And they do work in winter. I hope you appreciate the effort I put into showing that.
I can't say I can enjoy it. Are heat pumps popular where you live? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. We have new videos for you every Friday. And I need to get out of here now. All right, I made it. Oh.